Good evening, everybody. So, this is the second take of this video because my light died while I was filming the last one. So, let's dive right back into this. Welcome to this video where I'm going to share my third completed week of Ironman training with my new coaches. And I am also going to share a little bit more detail on what a ramp test is and what it's used for in training. Coincidentally, that is one of the things that I did this week with my training twice because of user error there. Don't make that mistake. And finally, I'm going to share my training insight of the week. So without further ado, I'll dive right into things. Starting with Monday, I did a 50-minute maintenance run. And when I say maintenance run from now on, just know that that includes a zone 1 warm-up. Zone 1 for me right now is between a 10-minute and 30-second pace and a 12-minute pace. So my coaches have me within that range for my zone 1 training. Followed by the 10 minutes of zone 1, this 50-minute maintenance run was a 35-minute at zone 2 pace. So my zone 2 pace, according to my coaches, and this is based on my run test last week, is a between 10-minute and 10-minute and 28-second pace, which for me I thought was a little quick for my zone 2, but I'm trusting my coaches' judgment based on my data. So, and I think I spoke about this last week, sometimes you can do a bit more than you think you can handle, and that's a great thing, and sometimes it just takes somebody on the outside to point that out to you. So after that 50-minute maintenance run, I did a strength training session, and that strength training session is programmed for me by my coaches. It's all body weight stuff, and it's predominantly for the muscles that support the joints and would be likely to develop overuse injuries. So those strength sessions are very important for not getting injured in my training. Tuesday was a 1-hour long ride. Wednesday was a threshold run with 4 2-minute intervals at threshold pace. So that threshold pace for me was between 8 minutes and 45 seconds and 9 minutes. So pretty quick for someone like me who's coming off an injury, but it felt great. It was absolutely freezing the night that I had to run. There was a good snowstorm here in New York, and it basically left all the streets and all the sidewalks completely iced over. So if you can imagine running at night in the freezing cold with ice everywhere, and my first speed interval of the training season, it wasn't the most comfortable run, but sometimes you surprise yourself once you get out there. You hardly notice the conditions. You just kind of get focused and honed in on what you're working on. So the cold, the snow, the ice, the darkness didn't really faze me in any way, because when you hear the watch beep and set you off on your interval, it really, everything else kind of falls by the wayside. All you see is like the pace that you're currently going on, and I have a Garmin, so when I program these intervals into my running, there'll be like a green bar that shows on my wrist that says whether or not I'm too slow, too fast, or right on pace. So I'm constantly looking at that, trying to make sure that I'm on pace. Once you get a good feel for your pace for the interval, you just kind of keep going. It'll beep if you start to get too fast or too slow. So very happy with that feature. Then Thursday was my ramp test on the bike. So I need to fix my seat a little bit to talk about this one because there was a little bit of pain involved. So the purpose of a ramp test, and I'll start with this, is to give you kind of a rough order of magnitude of what your functional threshold power is. And that is important for my coaches to know as they're programming my training for the weeks moving forward. So they really needed this data to better drive my training. Otherwise, you're kind of just guessing. They need a good baseline of where I am right now, fitness-wise, on the bike. So a ramp test is performed by having, say, a set warm-up period. Let's imagine this pen is a flat bar. You're warming up. You're not exerting yourself too much. You're operating at pretty much your baseline power on the bike. And then once the test begins, it'll start off, or it should start off, on a fairly low power. And for every minute, your job on the bike is to hold that power consistent. And then at the end of the minute, the power should jump up by a factor of about 20 watts, and then you'll hold that power for a minute, and it's going to keep going for about 20 minutes or so, or at least it should, right? So I set up my first ramp test incorrectly, and I guess the application just thought that I was stronger than I was, but it started out the ramp test at 220 watts, which is, pretty high for me. And then it jumped up to 260 watts, so it was jumping higher than it should have. And then it shot up to 315 and then 360. So I made the 315 split, but at 360, my legs were completely toast and I tapped out. And it was only 4 minutes into the test, and another key to me that made me realize that there was something wrong with the setup of the test. It didn't tell me my FTP at that point, my functional threshold power, and the test kept going. So the numbers were continually increasing to 420, 480, and so on and so forth to 1,000. So it would hold the machine at that power, realize that I wasn't able to even pedal my legs, and then that power would disengage. So for the next 50 seconds, I was able to continue my ride. So my ride was severely interrupted by 10-minute stops and then 50-second rides, 10-minute stop, 50-second ride. So that ride, the test eventually ended, and then I finished out that ride for a total of an hour on the bike. And then I did my strength training protocol. So you'll notice the strength training protocol is twice a week. I instantly told my coaches that there was something wrong with the test, and I spoke with them on the phone the next day, which was Friday, my rest day. And that's when they gave me the great news that I was going to do the ramp test again the following day on Saturday, which was my next ride. And bringing us to Saturday, my ride was slated to be 1.5 hours on the bike total, including the ramp test. So this time I set the test up correctly and ran through the paces of increasing each interval by 20 watts, starting at 100. And, that felt much more like the ramp test. So it was very difficult. I understand why coaches don't typically want you to do this test more than, once every few weeks, because it's a workout in and of itself. So if you're just constantly doing the ramp test, then you're not training according to the data that this test is providing you. So I did that. I got my FTP, which I'll share. It's 227 right now, and this is my first successful ramp test. So I don't mind sharing that because I'm excited to see where I grow from here. Like, I'm only just now completing week 3 of my training, and I'm noticing like my legs are getting very muscular. My core is getting much stronger, and despite the fact that, I was nervous about all this load on the body, but my my body is adjusting pretty well. Like, it hurts and I'm sore all the time and I'm pretty tired, but like, that's what I signed up for. Like, I'm not surprised by that. That's okay. Like, I'm not injured, and that's what I want. Besides some very bad sciatica, but that has nothing to do with the training. That's just something I'm training through. So that was my Saturday. I'll wrap that up by saying 1.5 hours on the bike. Continuing on the bike after the ramp test was pretty tough. But, the whole goal for a long ride is to just get time on the bike. So 1.5 hours was fine. Following day, a 60-minute run at maintenance pace. So same story as Monday. About a 10-minute warm-up. This time, instead of 35 minutes at the 10-minute pace, it was 45 minutes, followed by a 5-minute cool down. Came just shy of 6 miles in that 60 minutes, which means that my warm-up and my cool down were semi-fast, but my paces were completely on point. So that was, great news. One thing that stood out to me especially this week, and this is a good segue into the training insight of the week, is the emotional part of training is something kind of to laugh at, because like, I want to paint you a quick picture, tell you a story. So Monday, I was like super worried about like the speed. This was going to be my first week on like being locked into certain paces, right? So I was worried. I did the run Monday. I felt absolutely exhausted after Monday. Like, I was lucky that I had off from work that day, or maybe not, because I did the run earlier in the day, which I'd normally do it after work to like break up my day. But I did the run early on an empty stomach, no fuel beforehand, and it completely wiped me out. Because there's no rest day before the weekend long days and then Monday, so you just kind of like feed right into it. I was like, I don't know how I'm feeling about this. Like, I think I might get injured if I continue at like this pace. Literally, by the time Wednesday came around, I was like telling myself, wow, I feel like this training is going so well. My body's adjusting great for this. And then I get to Saturday and my body's completely wrecked from the ramp test and the hour and a half on the bike. I'm like, oh my God, like, I don't know how well this is going. Like, my body is completely gonna break down if I keep going at this rate. And then Sunday I do like a perfect run at 60 minutes and like am not exhausted after it. And I'm telling myself that things are going great. I see my coaches upload my training for the next day, which is Monday, today, because I'm a day late filming this. And it was another run, which I did already. And I was telling myself, oh gosh, I don't know if my body's going to be able to support this. And so you can just see like the up and down, the up and down, the up and down. And it literally means absolutely nothing. So the important part is getting out there and doing the training. And for me, the important part, or the more important part, is trusting these coaches with what I'm paying them for. Like, I'm paying them good money to train me according to my numbers in a way that will yield great results. And, they're doing a great job so far. But if you're in a similar spot where you're in a hard period of your training, and luckily for this Ironman training, it's all a hard period of training. Like, you're never not sore, you're never not kind of on the edge of injury, like pushing it a little bit. It's just really important to know that those emotions that you're feeling are irrelevant. Like, the good emotions are great, and you can try to like use them as fuel and tell yourself like you're progressing, and that's what you want. Like, you can use that progress to increase your energy, increase your testosterone, increase your output and your work that you're putting into your training. But those negative emotions do the opposite, right? And they always attack you when you're tired. And literally, like today, I felt exhausted from this weekend. Like, it was 2 large efforts this weekend for me. And I worked all day, and then I get out of work, and it's cold here in New York. And, I just put my clothes on and got out there, started the run, feeling like tight in my calves and my ankle, my knee, my sciatica, my everything. And worked through the warm-up, watch beeps, time to hit pace, get to your 10-minute pace, and then find your groove in there, and then keep going. And then all else disappears, and you perform. And that's what you want. You want to perform despite the emotions, because that's what we're here for, and that's how we get progress. So that was my training insight of the week. Let me know what you think about that, because I can't be the only one. Everyone always talks about putting their emotions to the side, but when you're actually going through it, it's easy to say when you're not in it, but when you're in it, then you're really feeling that double talk on each side, like, oh, this might not be good for you, and then it's like, this is what we're here for, and you just kind of have to push through. Don't listen to either of the voices, just do the work, right? And that's my training update for week 3 of Ironman training. Thank you for excusing my scraggly appearance. I tend to be a bit lazy about shaving, because I don't know if anyone else relates to this, but I tend to get pretty hairy. My hair grows in very fast, so try to be on top of it, but hey. So this is the second or third one of these that I've done, and I'm curious what, if anyone's actually watching, what any of you think about this, anything that you want to hear, anything that you want to see specifically. I do plan on doing these more frequently. Right now, the training updates are set to be weekly following the training week, so either Sunday or Monday I'm going to be filming these. But, just to get more time on the camera and get more time practicing speaking to you guys, I will probably do a few more videos throughout the week, and it'd be very nice if I had some topics that you were actually curious about. So if you even make it to this far in the video, thank you. Thanks for watching, and let's chat in the comments. Tell me what you're interested in seeing, hearing, and I'll take the time to share that information. One of the hardest things, at least when you're first getting started out with filming and YouTube and speaking to a camera, one, surprisingly, is pacing, knowing like you're not speaking to an actual person, so you don't have like the same cues as you would have in an in-person conversation. Not that I'm a master at that anyway, but it's part of my job. So you get pretty good at, reading the room, reading the people that you're talking to, knowing what to say, knowing how to interact with people. But when it's a one-man show, you kind of just have a tendency, or I have a tendency, to ramble. So that's one. Two, you'd be surprised how you don't really know what people want to hear. Like, you're in your own echo chamber, so anything to pull me out of the echo chamber and increase the quality of this channel's content, that's the goal. So thank you for listening. I hope that you like and subscribe this video if you actually like the video. If you don't like the video, tell me why you don't like the video, and I'll make it better. Aside from turning professional, because I don't have the money for that. That's kind of one of the dreams here. But yeah, have a good night, everybody. If you are training for an event, good luck with your training, and I will talk to you in the next video. Night.